Why are we doing that?
Ow!
I missed it.
Namaste, Soul Circle!
I'm Candace.
And I'm Steven.
And we're from Arcana, Mind, Body, Spirit here in Toronto, Canada.
On our last video, we learned about the entire cycle of the moon, and we discussed what the energetic focus should be during each phase. But wait, there's more. There's another very important part of the lunar cycle that is often overlooked and can be a real deal breaker in your moon manifestation game. And of course, it is, drumroll please, it's the lunar calendar.
That's right, the lunar calendar. On today's episode, Steven and I are going to look at the 13 moon cycles of the lunar year and discuss how each of them differ from cycle to cycle. Each of these moons have different energy, and that means it can do some specific work for you. Is this cycle for healing, for releasing, for action, for gratitude? And as we go along today, we may even throw in some tips and tricks on how it ties into our solar wheel of the year. It all works together.
Doesn't it though? For today's video, we will be using 2021 as the example because every few years it can fall slightly different based on the path of the sun and the moon in relation to the earth. And that's really where this magic of the moon lives, in the specific correspondences every single year. In 2021 alone, we have 13 cycles, 12 full moons, 3 supermoons, a blue moon, and 2 lunar eclipses. That is a lot of energy to navigate. And we're going to be covering all of this in today's video.
But first, be sure that if you like what you see, hit the like and subscribe and the notification bell so that you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. We are forever grateful for your support. Let's moon.
So let's start by talking about the calendar. Time is a human construct. No, but really, it's used to explain the cycles of our world. Without it, our world would fall into total chaos. I mean, what time is it? What month is it? How old are we? Keeping track of historical dates. I mean, I wouldn't even know how to book a vacation without time. Struggle.
Oh my God.
None of it could be possible. None of this could be possible without our current calendar. Or would it?
Did you know that the solar calendar that we use all over the world is called the Gregorian calendar and was adapted from the lunar calendar that predated it? It's true. The lunar calendar has been observed and adapted by hundreds of cultures all over the world since the beginning of time. Instead of using the sun as the benchmark like we all do today, we use the moon and its 13 cycles around the sun.
So where did this come from? Well, it dates back all the way to the ancient Sumerians. Sumer was the earliest known civilization in the region known as Mesopotamia, which is located between the Tigris and the Euphrates River. That ended up becoming Babylonia, which is now located in what we know as southern Iraq. They were probably the first to develop a calendar based entirely on the reoccurrence of lunar phases, though it is sort of hard to say and hotly debated from historian to historian who did it. The rough estimate is around 389 before Common Era that the first lunar calendars were set. But Chinese lore says that during the time of Emperor Huangdi, a calendar was devised using the latitude of the Earth as well as the phases of the moon, and that was developed in 2637 before Common Era. It's wild, right? Like, just think that it's the exact same moon that we look up at every single night.
All over the world, even in current modern times, indigenous people spanning the globe still acknowledge the use of the lunar calendar, and each culture give names to the 13 moons throughout the year based on the energies of the time it was created, the time of the year, and the conditions that the group lived in. Oh, and animals, seasons, and plants that exist within the landmass.
Still, to this day, major holidays all over the world, from all paths of life and pantheons of belief, use the lunar calendar to set the dates each year. Such holidays as Rosh Hashanah from the Hebrew calendar,
the Chinese New Year,
Vesak, which is Buddha's birthday in Buddhism,
Diwali from the Hindu faith.
Yeah, and even Ramadan from Islamic faith.
I think it's beautiful that moon cycles bring us all together. Aww, one love.
In fact, the only reason we instituted a worldwide calendar was because Pope Gregory XIII wanted to change the date of Easter.
Oh.
And it gets better. It was a really big deal at the time. All of the European Protestant countries held out as long as they could in fears that they were only putting this calendar in place to silence their faith. Yeah. So, onwards.
Surprise! That's exactly what they're doing.
Our goal for today's video is to discuss how we observe the lunar year and how by melding the ancient Celtic traditions, North American indigenous belief systems, and the zodiacal energies of each season, and how we can use the lunar calendar to manifest our best possible outcomes.
Yeah. When it comes to astrology, we will be discussing the energy of the sun season and the opposing full moon energy. For example, if we're in Aries season, then our full moon takes place on the opposite side of the wheel in Libra. We'll be getting into all of that and how you can blend these energies together to accomplish great things.
Now, before we actually dive into this calendar, we have to give a quick disclaimer here. The names that we are going to use are by no means the only names for these moons.
Yeah.
Each and every culture who uses lunar cycles has adapted them for their own. There's so many different names based on which region of the world you live in. We have adapted a mixture of these indigenous names based on the boreal topography where we live in Canada, as well as use the traditional Celtic names based on the energies of the cycle of the year. You're also going to hear that we're going to be referencing the Coliny Calendar, which is a 2nd century Gaul system that is made as a combination of both the cycles of the moon and the sun.
A lot of the Celtic wheel of the year stems from this, and it is believed that the system was used for thousands of years and would have predated Celtic culture, which means it was made somewhere else in the world before Celtic culture was even established. That being said, the names were written in Gaulish, which is ancient Celtic from around the Roman Empire. I, for one, do not speak it. Okay? Gasp. Clutch your pearls. I don't speak Gaul. But we are going to do our very best and talk about what it represents and try not to butcher every word.
We're going to do our best here. I mean, Candace and I work with this blended energy ideology, which is authentic to our belief system and observable in nature within the climate where we live. We encourage you to do the same. If you live in the southern hemisphere, we're not telling you to celebrate frost moon on a balmy beach day. Take what works for you and adapt it so that it resonates in your personal practice.
Okay, so let's start with our first moon in the lunar year.
All right, starting with January's full moon, this is commonly referred to as the wolf moon. This is the first full moon of our lunar year. Common alternate names for this are the ice moon and the old moon. The Coliny calls this moon cycle Rivros, which roughly translates to cold time.
It actually takes place during the deep winter months when wolf packs would huddle looking for food. They say their howls would be heard in nearby villages. If you can imagine that, only a few weeks before this was winter solstice, which means that even though we can't tell yet, the days are slowly getting longer again. The wolves were a reminder to stay strong, that the world was warming, and it reminds us to shed our fur coat. We should let go of what holds us down and howl at the moon for the world to hear us with this strength of the wolf.
In astrology, we are in the season of Capricorn, readying to transition into Aquarius season. Aquarius energy prompts us to blow open the systems we have in place for ourselves and open our minds. The full moon enters the sign of Leo on the opposite side of the wheel. That means you should roar like a lion and howl like a wolf. In urbanite modern times, we call this New Year's resolutions. Regardless of New Year's, January innately has that feeling of something fresh is starting, something new is happening. So use this moon to blow open the old systems with that Aquarian energy, with the strength of the lion and howl of the wolf. As you move forward, ask yourself, what do you need to release in order to allow your inner wolf to howl?
Kind of sounds like an 80s song. I like it. The strength of a lion, howl as a wolf, like Duran Duran or something. In February, it's time for the snow moon, also known as the plow moon or the Lenten moon or the lengthening moon. The Celtic calendar calls this Anaguntios, which roughly translates to stay home time. This moon is also called the hunger moon because hunting is challenging, and that's due to the season being the heaviest snowfall of them all.
If the last month's moon was about being active and howling, the snow moon encourages you to curl up with a book by a fireplace and look within. As we move from Aquarius to Pisces, do something quiet that expands your knowledge and dream state. The full moon is in Virgo this season, so use that earthern energy to take your dreams and write them in that planner that you've been dreaming of buying off of Amazon. Create a quiet plan, no matter how crazy, to get you to the places where you could go. And remember, the sky is the limit during Pisces time.
During this full moon, you want to ask yourself, what places in your heart are you waiting to thaw? And once it's thawed, what are you going to do with it? These questions can hit pretty deep if you're going to do the work honestly and with an open heart. Statistically, humans that live in a winter climate in February have trouble with depression, motivation, and inactivity. February is actually known as the longest month, though as we all know, it is actually the shortest month of the year.
Right.
Even in climates without snow, it's called storm moon. Again, a storm being an image of staying inside, keeping safe, and looking within.
All right, we are in March. This is Crow Moon, Worm Moon, Sugar Moon, Chase Moon. March has all kinds of names. It was named after the changes that we see in the world at this time. The birds awaiting the thaw, looking for worms that are beginning to appear. The name Sugar Moon came from the saps that are starting to be produced in the trees this time of year, and the temperatures that are beginning to warm. The Celtic calendar calls this Agronius, which translates to last ice time.
All right, imagine this. It's the last full moon of the winter, and as the snow thaws, the worm trails in the ground become visible. This was actually a really important site for farmers and agriculturalists, for it gave a sign of what the soils may be like for this year's planting. This is exactly how we should be treating this cycle. How are your soils right now?
We should use the power of this Libra full moon to balance our inner temple as we push forward into the spring. The spring being our planet's time of creation. With the sun having just moved into Aries season, jump on board with the coming change and trust in yourself that you are moving in the right direction.
All right, so now moving into April, we have the wind moon. The ancient Celts called this Kutios, which stood for wind time. And it's true, during March, the winds of change begin to blow. There you go. The season turns from Aries to Taurus, both signs with considerable speed, but with totally different approaches. That speed is displayed all around you, as nature that once lay desolate or struggled to grow has now blossomed to great lengths. This full moon's energy is supercharged and is paired with a full moon in Scorpio, which forces us to swim through some of the deepest waters of release. On the wind full moon, you want to allow the winds of change to blow free that hold you down and open the doors to your deepest intentions, even the ones you're afraid to unearth. Keep in mind that with Taurus in the energy field, this is a great moon for prosperity.
In 2021, this is actually a super moon as well. So whatever energy you are releasing that day, watch those spaces be filled with the most abundant and prosperous energy. It's also called the egg moon, mother's moon, or fish moon. And these names call in fertility and Easter or Ostara, and the fish calls in money because the salmon are trying to swim upstream this time of year in preparation for mating. This is a huge symbol of prosperity for ancient Asian cultures. It is also called the pink moon. This name comes from the herb pink moss, one of the earliest blooming flowers in spring. You can see it blooming all over North America. Candace, I would like you to show our viewers your pink moon.
Do we want to keep monetization happening? Cut to a clip and log it off with a pink flower. All right, moving on from my pink moon. We're in May now, and that's the flower moon or the hare moon. The ancient Celtic translation for this is Gia Manios, which translates to shoots time, because the plants are in blossom. Everything around you is in full bloom at this time, and any super intentions you've set this year should be unfolding in perfect cadence with the universe.
The hare represents birth, revitalization, fertility, and magic. This is the time of year we move from practical Taurus to social Gemini. Whatever you've been planning or working on, blow it open. Get a little extroverted with your dreams. Push your thoughts to its outer limit of who you are and see what energies blossom in you. With the full moon in Sagittarius, draw your bow back, aim with precision, and loose yourself on the world for all to see. All right, we've made it to June. It is time for the strawberry moon, the hot moon, or the honeymoon. The colony calendar called this time Semivisionos, which stands for bright time. And is it ever? This season got its name from the Algonquin tribe, named after nature's sweet, abundant gifts of strawberries and the relatively short season that they have.
Astrologically, we move from social Gemini to emotional Cancer, which leaves us in a state of bliss and happiness for all that we have achieved this year. We should move from celebration to gratitude for the next month and enjoy this fleeting peace, just like the strawberries in the fields. We were floating on cloud 9 with airy Gemini and then getting washed away in Cancer's emotions. Thank Goddess we have some Capricorn energy here to earth us. We need to also stay grounded in our gratitude. Maybe even try to do this full moon practice barefoot.
And it was called the hot moon because usually it takes place right around the summer solstice, the longest day of the year.
And I'll show you a hot moon. Moving on, we find ourselves in July, and this is called the buck moon. Your turn, Steve.
I'm a buck.
Anywho, this was called Equus in ancient Celtic, which stands for horse time. Okay, well.
I'm not
not a horse?
I'm not your big gay clown over here, Candace.
You're not?
I mean, I kind of am.
You're kind of my big
kind of
gay
a
clown.
Gemini.
Anyways, this is the time when wild hearts run free. I really love this moon. Every buck moon, I can picture the male deer shedding its antlers. It has finished doing all the work and now no longer needs to fight. He lays down his weapons and lives. Known as the stagged horn one in Celtic culture, a buck is true earth energy and represents the divine masculine.
Same.
Love it.
In astrology, we are moving out of the emotional waters and into the fires of Leo. The lion and the buck stand proud together, which can empower you to new heights. But the kindest gift of the full moon is the expansive Aquarius blowing in the winds of change from high above us. You'll be able to accomplish miracles with a strength that seems effortless. This is the perfect time to give one last intention push, because from here on out, it'll be time to put down those antlers. There are a lot of other names for this, depending on where you live in the world, and most of these have to do with rain. It's often called the thunder moon in places where they don't necessarily have stags. The thunder represents Leo's fire coming down from the sky, and it's met with the waters of Cancer drifting us away. All right, that's it for for today, friends. Be sure to hit like and subscribe and that little notification bell so that you don't miss a single piece of our upcoming content.
Yeah, and please leave a comment below about what your favorite moon is, or if where you live in the world, your culture celebrates a different traditional moon calendar. We love hearing how each culture represents their energies differently and working with it all together.
So be sure to check back for our moon sign series that's continuing this week, and we're doing water signs. This is exciting, and that's where we're going to be diving into Candace's moon sign. Oh my, I can't wait to dissect her publicly with all of you.
I can't wait. Namaste, Soul Circle.
Much love.